All right, here we are again talking becoming retail. And as Michelle and I start to crawl through the data of a global survey of more than 500 retail executives, a lot of interesting data is really bubbling up. But one topic that really jumped out at me was shopping at the edge, really how it's imperative for brands to push their operations to wherever the consumers are, and that's increasingly off of their owned and operated properties. In fact, according to the research, retail executives, those established leaders in the industry, anticipate that 17% of all digital sales over the next 3 years will be on the likes of social, messaging, live streaming, voice, and even gaming. So with that said, I want to tee this up to Michelle. As you think about a really high number and the growth we're anticipating over the next couple of years, what's your take on it? Is this a fad? Is this something here to stay? How should retailers approach this?
I agree with the respondents that shopping at the edge is something that everyone needs to monitor. It's a totally new way of shopping, but the consumer behavior is there and has only been accelerated by COVID. These are tools that consumers have turned to during the sort of shelter in place and lockdowns and social distancing, particularly social media. More people are spending time there. And as you mentioned, retailers need to be where their consumers are, and consumers are willing to make purchases now in non-traditional ways. Whereas historically that hasn't been the case. So it's very important for retailers to keep an eye on, what the consumer is doing and where they are. And then adding to that is that many of these companies are improving these products, particularly around social commerce, to enable a more frictionless shopping experience. So they're capitalizing on the desire for consumers just to see something and buy it right away, whether it's on social media or a live stream or through voice. So as the companies work to reduce the barriers for the shopping experience, it will only be more popular among consumers.
Yeah, the frictionless comment is really important. Let's face it, this has been fairly clunky to date, and that's why some of their flameouts, whether it's Facebook commerce or others, but we are seeing an adoption by consumers and certainly more investment by retailers. It feels like it's the shopping mall or department store of this generation, creating inspiration, really creating a community and driving traffic. And therefore, these platforms are able to monetize that in a way that's valuable to the consumers via frictionless commerce and via the brands as well. So, let's take this one notch lower and dive into the details in that, we asked not only the total revenue and sales via these third-party platforms, but also which in particular platforms will have the most market share. And as we bring that up, I guess I'll pose it to the audience here. Have you bought anything of late on a third-party platform like messaging, social, voice, and the like? Do you plan to do it over the holiday, which we see actually happening in earnest as well? So, as you look at the data and as it comes up, you'll see that social commerce is really shoulders above the rest, but don't sleep on whether it's search or email or IoT or messaging. Consumers are there hanging out with their friends, their family, their colleagues, and they're looking to do research, discovery, and inspiration. And really, we should think about making the product just a click away. So, as you look at these multitude of different options, both for the consumer, Michelle, and for the retailers to invest in, how should leaders think about this? How should they prioritize, and what should it look like for them?
Yes, so there's a multitude of options to invest in, but with scarce resources, it's really important to concentrate where the audience is, and certainly that's been social media. What I find interesting about this is we did ask the respondents about separate types of communication or entertainment, where there's now more commerce enabled capabilities. But a lot of these shopping at the edge channels are really owned by 1 or 2, 3 players, right? So if you are into social media, they're now incorporating more live streaming. They obviously have messaging capabilities. So it's really easy to scale, and the companies like Facebook are making it easier to integrate all of your product catalogs and seamless checkout. So if you're concentrating with social media, you still have a lot of different ways to reach these consumers where they are in messaging and live streaming. So that's what I would prioritize. I also think that live streaming may be a sleeper hit because of the pandemic. It might be something that accelerates faster than we predicted, given the rapid change in consumer behavior. In really embracing live streaming this year. I know as part of Prime Day, that Amazon will be live streaming things, and then of course Walmart is looking to take a stake in TikTok, which I know you've tracked.
Yeah, you brought up, don't sleep on live streaming, and it certainly accelerated even from the short couple of weeks from when we actually fielded this survey. And everybody seems to be a live streamer these days. It's really the home shopping network of this generation. And as you mentioned, TikTok and Walmart, real smart move for the big box retailer, knowing that's where a lot of the younger generation is hanging out. And they essentially become the product catalog, the shopping engine, if you will, the payment gateway, and the fulfillment operation to really fuel what products are being displayed and promoted on that network. So it's great validation and really confirms it's not a question of if, it's a question of when and where to place your bets. But as we talk to retailers, it's critical to really open up your platform, push your brand to wherever the consumers are. And that's a little uncomfortable, obviously, as we want to control the experience and really manage that relationship directly. But at the end of the day, you're seeing it in China with WeChat, you're seeing it across these different platforms. It's happening, and it's critical, and these leaders have confirmed it. So, hey, Michelle, I really appreciate, as always, your perspective on the industry, your analysis on this data that's coming out fast and furious from our global survey. And thanks to all of you for joining us along our journey to becoming retail.